Mr. Nataraj. Yeah. So before that, shall I go do a small introduction?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah. So, hello everyone. My name is Kanti, and I'm a director in Asha Infinite Foundation, which is the mother organization of Future Ready Hub. So, what we do in Asha is teach English, and we teach English from phonics all the way up till reading and writing and speaking. So this is an extension of that where we want to make our students job ready, capable of communicating well, and capable of um, presenting themselves perfectly as much as they can, as at least they can improve upon what they were doing. We can't say perfectly, I would say a much, much, much more improved version. We give them skills, we give them uh, tools, we encourage them to extend themselves and expand themselves. And we are doing what we can to make them future ready. And that's the reason we're even starting this reading club in the night, the Pajama Party Reading Club. That being said, the reason we feel is okay. Meera and I are voracious readers. I think so is Srija and so is
Oh,
Megha.
yes.
Yeah. So we are voracious readers, and we find our worldview expands the more we read, and that's the first tool we want to hand over to our students. The love for reading, the understanding of how it can expand you, and how it can help you become better. And the other positive of this exercise would be to hear the spoken word. Okay, so you're using your ears to hear, you're reading the book, reading the words along when the teacher is reading, as well as you're speaking it aloud. So you're going to compare yourself to the spoken word, you're connecting to the written word, and you're also hearing it. So we're using the uh, the multi-sensory approach. We're using the three senses to do so, and nothing like doing it, right? Nothing like reading along. And frankly, so Meera and I did the first two readings. The second reading was almost me. But frankly, I tell you, I find there was so much of joy. Okay, okay. For me, reading is a joy, any given time, anything. So for me, it was a complete joy. And I love the fact that the students also participated, had their own views, and had their own takes on whatever we spoke. And that's what makes this whole thing interesting. So, Taranjit, Bharat, and Natraj. So, I would expect each of you to please, please be there every day. And we are doing it so that you will develop a habit of reading. And I will give you an example of one of our previous students. I think her name was Dharni. You know what she said? So she made it a point because we used to read from 10 to 11 in the night. See, she got into the habit of reading at 10 to 11. And then she started keeping everything aside and started reading a book by herself 10 to 11. And because she did it, she was a student in a hostel. All her roommates did it too. I tell you, I don't know how much joy I got just listening to that. I can't express. So, this is okay. The one in the yellow is Srija,
Yeah.
and uh, she is a very, 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 from what I can see, well spoken, well read, and a great reader. who will make your reading experience very happy and very educational.
I
And
hope.
same with Megha. So between Megha and Srija, they'll be completing this first book called Atomic Habits. And once that's done, if it is, we still have time, we'll start another book. We'll share the book with you. And we would really love to you all to participate, not only to read along, also to voice your thoughts. Okay? Each of you, please listen and enjoy. Okay? Srija,
Yeah. All right.
would you like to do a short introduction of yourself? Because I can just give one or two things that you've told me, but probably you can do
All
a bit
right.
of thing and same with Megha.
Yeah. So to introduce myself, I think already a very nice introduction has been given. And a voracious reader is the right way of describing me. But I would like to add a writer as well, because I'm an author and I've published books. I write poetry as well. And coming to the, if I can call it the career part, I'm a language trainer, a soft skill trainer, as well as a counselor. Also, I've done a little bit of dabbling in media. So I'm a voiceover artist. I was on the All India Radio panel as well as Doordarshan. So I think a lot of things rolled into one. So communication being, the underlying strength, which is why I'm here today, because I believe that reading can really open up your imagination. You move to every part of the world by just sitting in one place and reading a book. So we hope to share this with you, and let's hope, of course, today's begins on a little bit of a heavy note, but stay with me, it gets better. Okay. I think
And
that
also,
should
I
be.
just want to add one line. She's a dedicated teacher at Asha. So thank you for that.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah. So shall the other introduction before I begin? Megha?
Hello, I'm Megha. I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher for the past 16 years. I'm Montessori trained, so I'm usually working with the little ones. So this is my first experience of, working with Asha Foundation and working with a different age group, I would say.
Not so little ones.
Not so little ones, exactly. So I'm looking forward to these sessions and reading along with all of you. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you for your help.
Thank you. So, Srija, we'll do
Shall I
Srija
begin
name?
then? All right. So here goes. You've already been told the title of the book, which is Atomic Habits. Sounds very heavy, doesn't it? But it has a lot of little things to give us. And let me begin with the introduction today. Okay, so it starts off with my story. So on the final day of my sophomore year of high school, I was hit in the face with a baseball bat. As my classmate took a full swing, the bat slipped out of his hands and came flying toward me before striking me directly between the eyes. I have no memory of the moment of impact. The bat smashed into my face with such force that it crushed my nose into a distorted U shape. The collision sent the soft tissue of my brain slamming into the inside of my skull. Immediately, a wave of swelling surged throughout my head in a fraction of a second. I had a broken nose, multiple skull fractures, and 2 shattered eye sockets. When I opened my eyes, I saw people staring at me and running over to help. I looked down and noticed spots of red on my clothes. One of the classmates took the shirt off his back and handed it to me. I used it to plug the stream of blood rushing from my broken nose. Shocked and confused, I was unaware of how seriously I had been injured. My teacher looped his arm around my shoulder and we began the long walk to the nurse's office. Across the field, down the hill, and back into school. Random hands touched my sides, holding me upright. We took our time and walked slowly. Nobody realized that every minute mattered. When we arrived at the nurse's office, she asked me a series of questions. What year is it? 1998, I answered. It was actually 2002. Who is the President of the United States? Bill Clinton, I said. The correct answer was George W. Bush. What is your mom's name? I stalled. 10 seconds passed. Patty, I said casually, ignoring the fact that it had taken me 10 seconds to remember my own mother's name. That is the last question I remember. My body was unable to handle the rapid swelling in my brain, and I lost consciousness before the ambulance arrived. Minutes later, I was carried out of school and taken to the local hospital. Shortly after arriving, my body began shutting down. I struggled with basic functions like swallowing and breathing. I had my first seizure of the day. Then I stopped breathing entirely. As the doctors hurried to supply me with oxygen, they also decided the local hospital was unequipped to handle the situation and ordered a helicopter to fly me to a larger hospital in Cincinnati. I was rolled out of the emergency room doors and toured the helipad across the street. The stretcher rattled on a bumpy sidewalk as one nurse pushed me along while another pumped each breath into me by hand. My mother, who had arrived at the hospital a few moments before, climbed into the helicopter beside me. I remained unconscious and unable to breathe on my own as she held my hand during the flight. While my mother rode with me in the helicopter, my father went home to check on my brother and sister and break the news to them. He choked back tears as he explained to my sister that he would miss her 8th grade graduation ceremony that night. After passing my siblings off to family and friends, he drove to Cincinnati to meet my mother. When my mom and I landed on the roof of the hospital, a team of nearly 20 doctors and nurses sprinted onto the helipad and wheeled me into the trauma unit. By this time, the swelling in my brain had become so severe that I was having repeated post-traumatic seizures. My broken bones needed to be fixed, but I was in no condition to undergo surgery. After yet another seizure, my third of the day, I was put into a medically induced coma and placed on a ventilator. My parents were no strangers to this hospital. 10 years earlier, they had entered the same building on the ground floor after my sister was diagnosed with leukemia at age 3. I was 5 at the time. My brother was just 6 months old. After 2.5 years of chemotherapy treatments, spinal taps, and bone marrow biopsies, my little sister finally walked out of the hospital happy, healthy, and cancer-free. And now, after 10 years of normal life, my parents found themselves back in the same place with a different child. While I slipped into a coma, the hospital sent a priest and a social worker to comfort my parents. It was the same priest who had met with them a decade earlier on the evening they found out my sister had cancer. As day faded into night, a series of machines kept me alive. My parents slept restlessly on a hospital mattress. One moment they would collapse from fatigue. The next they would be wide awake with worry. My mother would tell me later, it was one of the worst nights I've ever had. My recovery. Mercifully, by the next morning, My breathing had rebounded to the point where the doctors felt comfortable releasing me from the coma. When I finally regained consciousness, I discovered that I had lost my ability to smell. As a test, a nurse asked me to blow my nose and sniff an apple juice box. My sense of smell returned. But to everyone's surprise, the act of blowing my nose forced air through the fractures in my eye socket and pushed my left eye outward. My eyeball bulged out of the socket, held precariously in place by one eyelid and the optic nerve attaching my eye to my brain. The ophthalmologist said my eye would gradually slide back into place as the air seeped out, but it was hard to tell how long this would take. I was scheduled for surgery 1 week later, which would allow me some additional time to heal. I looked like I had been on the wrong end of a boxing match, but I was cleared to leave the hospital. I returned home with a broken nose, half a dozen facial fractures, and a bulging left eye. The following months were hard. It felt like everything in my life was on pause. I had double vision for weeks. I literally couldn't see straight. It took more than a month, but my eyeball did eventually return to its normal location. Between the seizures and my vision problems, it was 8 months before I could drive a car again. At physical therapy, I practiced basic motor patterns like walking in a straight line. I was determined not to let my injury get me down, but there were more than a few moments when I felt depressed and overwhelmed. I became painfully aware of how far I had to go when I returned to the baseball field 1 year later. Baseball had always been a major part of my life. My dad had played minor league baseball for the St. Louis Cardinals, and I had a dream of playing professionally too. After months of rehabilitation, what I wanted more than anything was to get back on the field. But my return to baseball was not smooth. When the season rolled around, I was the only junior to be cut from the varsity baseball team. I was sent down to play with the sophomores on junior varsity. I had been playing since age 4, and for someone who had spent so much time and effort on the sport, getting cut was humiliating. I vividly remember the day it happened. I sat in my car and cried as I flipped through the radio, desperately searching for a song that would make me feel better. After a year of self-doubt, I managed to make the varsity team as a senior, but I rarely made it on the field. In total, I played 11 innings of high school varsity baseball, barely more than a single game. Despite my lackluster high school career, I still believed I could become a great player. And I knew that if things were going to improve, I was the one responsible for making it happen. The turning point came 2 years after my injury, when I began college at Denison University. It was a new beginning, and it was the place where I would discover the surprising power of small habits for the first time. How I learned about habits. Attending Denison was one of the best decisions of my life. I earned a spot on the baseball team, and although I was at the bottom of the roster as a freshman, I was thrilled. Despite the chaos of my high school years, I had managed to become a college athlete. I wasn't going to be starting on the baseball team anytime soon, so I focused on getting my life in order. While my peers stayed up late and played video games, I built good sleep habits and went to bed early each night. In the messy world of a college dorm, I made a point to keep my room neat and tidy. These improvements were minor, but they gave me a sense of control over my life. I started to feel confident again. And this growing belief in myself rippled into the classroom as I improved my study habits and managed to earn straight A's during my first year. A habit is a routine or behavior that is performed regularly and in many cases automatically. As each semester passed, I accumulated small but consistent habits that ultimately led to results that were unimaginable to me when I started. For example, for the first time in my life, I made it a habit to lift weights multiple times per week. And in the years that followed, my 6 foot 4 inch frame bulked up from a featherweight 170 to a lean 200 pounds. When my sophomore season arrived, I earned a starting role on the pitching staff. By my junior year, I was voted team captain, and at the end of the season, I was selected for the all-conference team. But it was not until my senior season that my sleep habits, study habits, and strength training habits really began to pay off. 6 years after I had been hit in the face with a baseball bat, flown to the hospital, and placed into a coma, I was selected as the top male athlete at Denison University and named to the ESPN Academic All-America team, an honor given to just 33 players across the country. By the time I graduated, I was listed in the school record books in 8 different categories. That same year, I was awarded the university's highest academic honor, the President's Medal. I hope you'll forgive me if this sounds boastful. To be honest, there was nothing legendary or historic about my athletic career. I never ended up playing professionally. However, looking back on those years, I believe I accomplished something just as rare. I fulfilled my potential, and I believe the concepts in this book can help you fulfill your potential as well. We all face challenges in life. This injury was one of mine, and the experience taught me a critical lesson. Changes that seem small and unimportant at first will compound into remarkable results if you're willing to stick with them for years. We all deal with setbacks, but in the long run, the quality of our lives often depends on the quality of our habits. With the same habits, you'll end up with the same results. But with better habits, anything is possible. Maybe there are people who can achieve incredible success overnight. I don't know any of them, and I'm certainly not one of them. There wasn't one defining moment on my journey from medically induced coma to academic All-American. There were many. It was a gradual evolution, a long series of small wins and tiny breakthroughs. The only way I made progress, the only choice I had, was to start small. And I employed the same strategy a few years later when I started my own business and began working on this book. How and why I wrote this book. In November 2012, I began publishing articles at jamesclear.com. For years, I had been keeping notes about my personal experiments with habits, and I was finally ready to share some of them publicly. I began by publishing a new article every Monday and Thursday. Within a few months, this simple writing habit led to my first 1,000 email subscribers, and by the end of 2013, that number had grown to more than 30,000 people. In 2014, my email list expanded to over 100,000 subscribers, which made it one of the fastest growing newsletters on the internet. I had felt like an imposter when I began writing 2 years earlier, but now I was becoming known as an expert on habits, a new label that excited me but also felt uncomfortable. I had never considered myself a master of the topic, but rather someone who was experimenting alongside my readers. In 2015, I reached 200,000 email subscribers and signed a book deal with Penguin Random House to begin writing the book you are reading now. As my audience grew, so did my business opportunities. I was increasingly asked to speak at top companies about the science of habit formation, behavior change, and continuous improvement. I found myself delivering keynote speeches at conferences in the United States and Europe. In 2016, my articles began to appear regularly in major publications like Time, Entrepreneur, and Forbes. Incredibly, my writing was read by over 8 million people that year. Coaches in the NFL, NBA, and MLB began reading my work and sharing it with their teams. At the start of 2017, I launched the Habits Academy, which became the premier training platform for organizations and individuals interested in building better habits in life and work. Fortune 500 companies and growing startups began to enroll their leaders and train their staff. In total, over 10,000 leaders, managers, coaches, and teachers have graduated from the Habits Academy, and my work with them has taught me an incredible amount about what it takes to make habits work in the real world. As I put the finishing touches on this book in 2018, JamesClear.com is receiving millions of visitors per month, and nearly 500,000 people subscribe to my weekly email newsletter, a number that is so far beyond my expectations when I began that I'm not even sure what to think of it. How this book will benefit you. The entrepreneur and investor Naval Ravikant has said, to write a great book, you must first become the book. I originally learned about the ideas mentioned here because I had to live with them. I had to rely on small habits to rebound from my injury, to get stronger in the gym, to perform at a high level on the field, to become a writer, to build a successful business, and simply to develop into a responsible adult. Small habits helped me fulfill my potential, and since you picked up this book, I'm guessing you'd like to fulfill yours as well. In the pages that follow, I will share a step-by-step plan for building better habits, not for days or weeks, but for a lifetime. While science supports everything I've written, this book is not an academic research paper. It's an operating manual. You will find wisdom and practical advice front and center as I explain the science of how to create and change your habits in a way that is easy to understand and apply. The fields I draw on, biology, neuroscience, philosophy, psychology, and more, have been around for many years. What I offer you is a synthesis of the best ideas smart people figured out a long time ago, as well as the most compelling discoveries scientists have made recently. My contribution, I hope, is to find the ideas that matter most and connect them in a way that is highly actionable. Anything wise in these pages, you should credit to the many experts who preceded me. Anything foolish, assume it is my error. The backbone of this book is my 4-step model of habits: cue, craving, response, and reward. And the 4 laws of behavior change that evolve out of these steps. Readers with a psychology background may recognize some of these terms from operant conditioning, which was first proposed as stimulus response reward by B.F. Skinner in the 1930s and has been popularized more recently as cue routine reward in The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Behavioral scientists like Skinner realize that if you offer the right reward or punishment, you could get people to act in a certain way. But while Skinner's model did an excellent job of explaining how external stimuli influenced our habits, it lacked a good explanation for how our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs impact our behavior. Internal states, our moods and emotions matter too. In recent decades, scientists have begun to determine the connection between our thoughts, feelings, and behavior. This research will also be covered in these pages. In total, the framework I offer is an integrated model of the cognitive and behavioral sciences. I believe it is one of the first models of human behavior to accurately account for both the influence of external stimuli and internal emotions on our habits. While some of the language may be familiar, I'm confident that the details and the applications of the 4 laws of behavior change, will offer a new way to think about your habits. Human behavior is always changing, situation to situation, moment to moment, second to second. But this book is about what doesn't change. It's about the fundamentals of human behavior, the lasting principles you can rely on year after year. The ideas you can build a business around, build a family around, build a life around. There is no one right way to create better habits, but this book describes the best way I know, an approach that will be effective regardless of where you start or what you're trying to change. The strategies I cover will be relevant to anyone looking for a step-by-step system for improvement. Whether your goals center on health, money, productivity, relationships, or all of the above, as long as human behavior is involved, this book will be your guide. So I think I'll stop with that. The introduction to this book. Yeah.
So Bharat, Natraj, Chandrasekhar, and Taranjit, could you all start? Who is going to go first with the takeaway, please?
So I just want to start first. A few things I wanted to say. I should have said this before the session started itself. That it doesn't matter if you're not able to understand fully. Okay, that's how it is. It happens sometimes. You'll have to absorb it after many readings. Only then you'll get a better idea. So even if you're understanding a little bit, that's okay. Keep listening. You'll be picking up things here and there. You'll be learning some new words. You'll be learning to appreciate the way she's reading the expression, enunciation, pause, all those things. These are some things that you will internalize, even if you've not understood. If you've understood, excellent. If you've understood a little bit, that's also fine. But that's what I wanted to say. Thank you, Shrija. Lovely reading. I enjoyed it.
Same here.
Yeah. So what do the listeners feel? Do you have anything to say about what was read? Whatever you understood. Because like it was rightly said, how much of what you heard and understood doesn't really matter. The more you listen, the more you begin to absorb. You know, it's the way, just listen, the way you listen to music. It's just like that, and you slowly imbibe. So do you have what do you feel about what was read so far? Any point, anything that you liked, anything that you would like to question?
You can call out names.
Okay.
Let them just at least If they want to talk in Hindi or Kannada, that's also fine.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
let them
Anything is fine.
introduce,
Yeah, you can just,
introduce themselves and then say a few words.
yeah. Let me just get the participants. Yeah.
Hi everyone, this is Bharat.
Okay, Bharat.
So this is my first, I can say, joining of this event or
Okay.
participating in this type of event, especially.
Mhm.
And I really liked it the way how you explain. It's very understandable, right?
Okay.
Sometimes we'll get to see that people who are reading, so it's like it would be like a running train or express,
Okay.
but you explained it was like smooth and understandable. So I understand some of the concepts, right? The way how he has started his journey. So
Yes.
everything happened with a small incident. So from where he began and where he is right now, right? So I understand the process, how he is doing. I
Yeah.
liked it.
Okay, nice. It began as a very painful, it was a painful start and a horrible way
Yes.
to, get started, but it really made him so strong. He didn't give up, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Bharat. That was nice.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to say? Please introduce yourselves and anything that you liked. It could be anything that you liked about the piece.
Hello.
Do you
Good
agree with
evening.
the idea that small things? Yeah, Chandrasekhar, please go on. Chandrasekhar, right? Yeah.
Uh, Good evening, ma'am, and good evening, everyone. First
Good
of all,
evening.
I thanks to Meera ma'am, Kanti ma'am, and Kratika ma'am for giving this opportunity again to attend this sessions. This is a second time for a reading challenge for me, ma'am. In this reading, I like how I learned about the habits. You read this sentence. I remember my college days, and I remember here how I follow my routine. You read this sentence, and like I made a point to keep my room neat and tidy. These improvements were minor, but they
Okay.
gave me a sense of control over my life. I started to feel confident again, and this growing belief in myself rippled into the classroom. I and as I improved my studies habits and managed to earn straight as during my first year. This I had learned about these habits. Uh, I remember what I did
Oh, that's
uh,
nice. You could relate to it. Okay.
in my college days and as well as here in ashrama. Ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay,
And
that's
thank
very
you, ma'am.
nice. Yeah. Brought your college days to mind, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much, Chandrasekhar. Anybody else would like to go? Anything you liked? What about the little things that he speaks about? Do you really believe that little things can build up into something really big? That we don't have to start with something big?
So I have to give you my experience. So when we did the reading of the Atomic Habits the first time round,
Mhm.
I decided that I'm going to start it too.
Okay.
So it's been 4 months and I haven't stopped writing my gratitude journal. And I've also made it a point that I exercise, even if it's 2 minutes, I exercise every day.
Ah,
So it is like, this was the impetus on which we were trying to inspire the students, and that inspired me.
yes.
And I'm so very grateful for this opportunity to do it again. Thank you so
Okay.
much, Rija. It made very lovely to listen to you.
Yeah, it was lovely knowing that everyone's listening, very, very keen listeners, and that I think makes a big difference.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it's very okay. Anybody else has anything to say?
Taranjit, would you like to speak? You can speak in whichever language you're comfortable.
Yeah, आप हिंदी में बोलिए, no problem.
Taranjit's English is good, yeah. Come on, Taran, we're waiting for you.
Yeah. I know when your name is called out, you get a little nervous. We all still have that, I think, it's something we learned from school.
Yes.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't want to be in the spotlight.
Yeah, really. And if you're in a class, you don't meet the teacher's eye. You feel if you don't meet her eye that you won't get called out.
I think there's something wrong with Taranjit's connection. Tanmay, would you like to
Hello.
go? Yeah, please, Taranjit.
Yeah. Good evening. I am Taranjit Sethi. I am the principal of Guru Nanak High School, Shere Punjab, Mumbai.
Yeah.
And I have known Meera through some speaking classes we started with my children. I was very much interested in. As said before, I am also a very avid reader. I have read Atomic Habits before, and I'm pursuing my English literature, MA in English literature as of now. But there are so many things which I should. I have lost my confidence, so I have joined this course. I have the hard copy of Atomic Habits with me. So I was reading this. And yes, I believe in this thing that small habits that are there that will always remain and make you stand out of the crowd. So that is one thing. If whatever habits are there, the good habits or that you are following should always be there with you. From starting as a simple exercise like folding your bed sheet early in the day, praying to God. Little things are there, expressing gratitude to the Lord Almighty. These little things always make you feel confident. So this is what is written in this Atomic Habits also. And it was really very nice hearing to you, Shrija ma'am.
Thank you.
It was really very, you have a lovely voice, soothing voice.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm glad it kept all of you awake. I was worried with the time, 10 to 11.
Yeah, usually I sleep by 9:30. And I was actually yesterday I couldn't realize that I have to click on the link. So today also I was searching and I clicked it by mistake. But Amira, I would like to tell you that this connection keeps on going away and coming back, going away and coming back. That is very disturbing. So if you can work on that, that would be really very nice.
That may be because of your internet, that's all. Because it didn't happen for any of us. So it was just fine. You check on your internet, please.
No, because another thing is, Taranjit, if you switch off your video, your audio, your connection sometimes will be stable.
So, but basically, it's your
tomorrow
internet.
I'll do that. From tomorrow I'll do that. But because the connection again and again it keeps on coming and going there, so
yeah,
I lose
very
touch.
Disturbing.
No, I lose the touch. That is what it is.
Yeah, that was nice, Taranjit. Anybody else? Is anything to share?
Tanmay, would you like to say something?
Even one sentence is good, Tanmay. Parayala, you should try.
It's a very comfortable space, right? You can share whatever you feel like.
Absolutely. There's nobody going to judge you, say correct or anything. We just want to know what you felt. Even if you didn't understand, you can say the same also.
And you can speak, you can speak in any
Go ahead.
language.
Go ahead.
This is my first session, so I'm a little bit nervous.
Yeah, that's quite understandable. Please go on.
So did you like it, Tanmay? Did you understand a little bit or?
Yes, ma'am, I understand little.
Very good, very good. So was it interesting?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So all of you keep the book that we have shared with you handy. Let it be in front of you. Either a soft copy or a hard copy. Run your fingers along, like how little children, we keep telling them, run your fingers along the words, listen to it carefully. And you can also read aloud along with the teacher, or you can just simply listen and enjoy. So excellent.
Yeah, a nice group who's actually interacting. It's very good that you've listened to the whole piece.
It's such a big group, Shrija. Only so many of them have joined, that's all. But that's okay. We'll keep doing it.
I think it's just starting. We'll give them some warming up time and slowly they'll join in, I think.
Yes. That's what hope springs eternal.
Yes, true.
Yeah. So we can close the meeting today.
Yeah.
And we'll meet again tomorrow at 10.
Tomorrow, yeah. We'll start
Hopefully-
with the first chapter.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll have more and
Okay.
more interaction. And all of you who have been there, thank you so much. And Chandrasekhar, it was very nice to have you back again for the same book. And I hope you have inculcated some habits in making all of you inculcate some habits I have. So I'm glad and thankful to all of you.
Kanti, I hope I also managed to do a little bit, by the end of the reading.
I hope so too.
So,
I hope so too.
yeah.
So the whole point is Kratika will post. So tomorrow morning or evening, anytime you're supposed to do mindful journaling. That's basically pick up one diary, one book, and start writing what you understood, what you felt, or what you want to do. Anything. Just put it down. Okay.
Just write
So
a few words.
yes, sentences, words, whatever.
Sentences,
So
rather.
yes. So for tomorrow, mindful journaling, every day you're expected to do it. Anyway, you'll get all the details shortly.
Yeah.
Okay. So shall we call it?
Yes. So we'll call it a
Yes.
day. Thank
Yeah,
you so
thanks.
much, all
Bye-bye.
of
Good
you.
night.
Yeah. Good
Thank you,
night
ma'am.
to all of you.
Night.
Have a peaceful, well-deserved sleep.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. All
Right.
right. Good night.
Bye bye. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.